Please tell me you didn't get plastic surgery to promote the album.
Oh no, that's all God's.
Hey, welcome back to the Fame Game with global pop superstar Heidi Montag and her husband, Spencer Pratt, myself. So grateful to be recording in our house here in the Palisades. How are you, honey?
Oh, that's a loaded question. Great. Everything's great. Everything's awesome. Great. How are you?
I was just thinking one of our sponsors for an upcoming episode could be a fly swatter. So if you got a fly swatter brand, you want to be in a lot of content, reach out to the team. A lot of big things happen in the world. Let's bring it down to just more basic life. Heidi's sister got married.
Yes.
We went and flew to Colorado to one of the most beautiful weddings I've ever attended.
Oh.
It wasn't a beautiful spot.
It was.
I'm joking, but it was.
Yeah.
It could have been worse, you know.
It was great. Yeah, I'm so excited for her. Her husband is amazing. The kids are awesome. So it's nice to have that family time. And then we were able to go to the rest of Colorado, which is great. We were on a whole tour. We went to Crested Butte, and we rented a house. And then I had Ty and Mylan and Tomas, my glam squad, come, and we did some incredible photo shoots, so it felt productive. I got those Colorado photos I always wanted.
So make sure the new issue, I don't think it has come out yet, but Interview Magazine, Heidi has a 4-page spread shot in Colorado. It's so beautiful. Thank you, Mel and Alex, the team at Interview, for that incredible opportunity. And then we had so much fun. There was a bear in our house the week before. I was hoping for my TikTok that a bear would come in again, but ended up no bear.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and then we went to Aspen for one night to see my dad who lives nearby. So that was great, and that was the Colorado chapter.
And Brody got married. A lot of people were concerned we weren't at the wedding. He did invite us to this wedding, his real wedding, his only real marriage. So I'm so happy for him and Tia, but it was the same day as Heidi's sister in Colorado. But that's so beautiful. They got married. Another big relationship I saw in the news is Heidi's protection for her Stanley Cup. John Shrek, Sheriff of Baghdad McPhee, was seen out in Hollywood with another pop star, reality TV icon, Erica Jane. I don't know anything about it. You know, I just see what's on the news, but they looked very, he could have just been holding her hand to help her through the parking lot. I don't know.
Maybe she hired him for a bodyguard.
Oh, yeah. So everyone's assuming they're dating. Yeah.
Actually, we met Erica Jane briefly at Mighty Hoopla in London. So it was so nice to meet her. She congratulated me on performing and said it was great to see you out here. And,
maybe
Shrek was with us, so maybe they met there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It would be hard for her to meet him there because he was very serious about your Stanley Cup and no one, sequins.
You could have looked away from that cup.
So nothing happened there because he never left our sides. But who knows? Maybe they bumped into each other and got numbers.
She needed some security.
But hopefully we can get them on a future podcast if they became a relationship. And that'll be friends. Who knows? Who knows? We don't know. I don't know anyone's business. And then my book, it's out, so pre-order it, please.
Pre-order 10 copies if you want.
Yeah, you can give them as gifts for stocking stuffers. It's called The Guy You Loved, past tense, to hate, because clearly right now I'm fighting for California's future against our Governor Newsom. And
fighting for air traffic. This is unreal how much air traffic there is. Like, what the heck? Air pollution. It's crazy.
I wonder if they changed the flight plan now. There's no down.
Or maybe we're just not as used to how many freaking
planes we heard all day
long. I feel like we're at the airport.
And then big news, Heidi's performing. If you're in Canada.
Vancouver.
Isn't that Canada?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was announcing the...
where in Canada.
Next Saturday. Yep, I've been rehearsing and I am premiering my new single there. It'll be the first performance of it.
And if you're in the audience, make sure to really wear a great outfit because we're shooting the music visualizer or a piece of it at the live performance. So if you wanted to get a little bit famous, make sure you have like a really good outfit scream really loud right in the front to be in the music video visualizer. What are
working on that outfit? It's very overwhelming what to wear to these performances. We kind of look at what we have done. We want to do something different designers, get a custom, but I don't have the budget to really get what everyone else is getting custom. So, it's a lot that Tomas and I continue to plan. I've been also rehearsing with Enrique. So I have done 4 rehearsals, and then I have 4 ahead. I have sound check on Wednesday. So it's a lot that goes into these performances. And this is, as of right now, my last Pride for the summer, closing out spring, summer Pride. And it's so bittersweet because it's been incredible to have that focus and that drive and feeling productive and kind of taken out of the destruction and the sadness of losing our home and funneling it into something positive and productive and feeling like it is on a road to rebuilding our lives, even if it's not true. It doesn't necessarily translate into money, but hopefully it will, and just kind of the rebrand. But it's been really great and fun and amazing to have such a strong team and to have another focus and to have a part of my dreams come true through such a hard shift of life. So it's been amazing. I'm really thankful for every person who's come out to the shows, the energy it's had, the life it's given us, the experience that I'll always remember. So I'm thankful for that. And what I know is I don't know what the future holds. So I'm just going to be grateful for those moments and times and hope that there's more to come, and we will see what's ahead. And the pop star. And I have great new songs coming out regardless. Okay, great.
Yeah. On that note, please continue to stream all of Heidi's music and add it to your playlist. Just for full transparency, pretty much the math is 1 million streams equals $3,000. And to put it in perspective, not one of Heidi's new songs has hit 1 million streams.
Right.
So thank you to everyone who keeps streaming her album from 2010. But it would be truly incredible if you add all the Heidi Wood music to your playlist and stream it.
You don't even have to listen. You can just put it on silent.
No, I think it maybe a little low volume. Maybe, who knows? Maybe you have to have it. I'll look into that. I'm also, because I've been very focused on our fight for saving the Palisades. I am not totally up to date on everything, but Love Island, the only thing I do care about. I don't watch the show yet. We're going to get into that maybe one day in the future. But I'm always excited for reality television people to get any type of platform that they can monetize. And the fact that this Huda, excuse me if I'm saying her name wrong, got over 5 million TikTok followers this season. Round of applause. I love seeing that. The power of reality TV still.
That's that fame game, girl.
So,
you got the fame game of the week or of the month, whatever it is. Congratulations. We are awarding you the fame game.
Oh, is this a new bit?
I just thought of it right now.
It's okay.
I thought that was a good idea.
You got it.
You got it.
It's big news. Also, in the fame, I'm so glad that I had already been bought off by Ryan Reynolds and his Mint Mobile, so I never got involved with the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni drama and made TikToks because Blake and her legal team have subpoenaed. I only know this because of our dear friend Perez Hilton did a very serious post about how upset he is that they're subpoenaing all of his records and information that he feels is going to put his children at risk to all this public information. So very glad we were in that Mint Mobile commercial because I for sure would have had a lot of commentary. And the takeaway is moving forward from this experience, I'm going to figure out how to avoid, being a TikToker or a podcaster and then getting all your information subpoenaed for loss. It's pretty crazy.
Wait, they're suing him?
They're subpoena, that word, all his records, I don't, you have to watch the press video.
Wow.
And Google and TikTok and everything.
I don't know anything about any celebrities or care. Don't come at me.
You do.
That's
You're
hard.
the host of a podcast called
I
The Fame
just
Game.
gave the award.
Okay, so you know.
Let's be positive. Positive person. You can't subpoena something for being positive.
Nope.
Can you? I don't know.
We had a great. I had a great day the other day.
Oh, good.
Brandon and Courtney from
great
Georgia
day.
came in town to make sure cheer my spirits up. So I got a day off.
Good. Great day for
I had
you.
a
Congratulations.
shrimp, some shrimp for you.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
Well,
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
have a great day tomorrow.
What's tomorrow?
I
You
don't
went on
know,
a
it's
date
just gonna
night
be a
last
great
night with
day.
Lee. You had fun.
Yeah, I had a great night.
A lot of people also been reaching out. They're concerned about my safety. Just know everywhere we go, we have the 2023 world champion KNVP police dog. So it looks like he's napping right now, but he's always lurking. So, and I've learned not to use doorknobs. People have told me don't take any baths. We check the brakes. I'm no longer eating at public restaurants because I think they did poison Brandon's food because we ordered the same thing, and I think they got him because he got scary sick and had to so thank you for everyone's concern.
You don't have to worry. You have me. I'll protect you.
Amen.
Of course. Hello. Just don't let the dress fool you.
Yeah, she's got weapons underneath. All right, well, thank you to our incredible team. We should start thanking our producer Anna.
Is that it?
Yeah, we already did 3 podcasts.
Wow.
What else you got to talk about? Thanks Shane.
I don't know, just
Shane should be, what's your
looking
titles?
all dressed up for
Producer,
nothing.
cinematographer, lighting. We should roll credits
Life
like it's a
coach.
movie.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good idea.
Yeah, special thanks to our
Yeah.
we
Dog
gotta do it.
whisperer.
Yeah. Hey, if you're worried about getting subpoena for a lawsuit, buy Mint Mobile phones as burner phones and then throw them away after each use. Because Mint Mobile has great SIM card type things, so you can post whatever you want and you worry you're gonna get a lawsuit, throw the phone away in the trash. Back to all companies that end up watching this. If you pay enough money, I will have a famous artist repaint over the Heidiwood billboard and you could have your brand, just throw out some names: Coca-Cola, McDonald's,
Lay's.
Taco Bell,
Pepsi.
Pepsi.
Lay's.
We'll do alcohol too. Comos,
Yes.
tequila. We're just throwing we love lots of brands. So we could do the lower piece too for less money if you want that piece.
State Farm Insurance.
Speaking of insurance, we can't shout out Nick Malloyan Law Firm. He helped us fight California Fair Plan for the last 6 months because we had a fair plan structure policy that's embarrassing, and they didn't even want to pay the policy limit. Shout out Nick. Shout out Edwin Najmi, my jiu-jitsu BFF, to introducing me to Nick, his childhood best friend. And he's like, Spencer, you're going to need this. And I'm like, no, we already had this fair plan policy. There's nothing we can do. It's just locked in for the structure. Oh, you need a lawyer. Let me tell you, these insurance
Please
people,
tell me you didn't get plastic
they're
surgery.
like Gavin Newsom.
Oh no, that's all God's.
My normal co-host, my beautiful global pop star wife, is off. We only have 3 chairs today, so she'll be here in a second. This is a special treat. We have the sheriff of Los Angeles County in my heart always. Currently, due to the rules, he has to be rerunning because of, long story short, Katzenberg and his dark money and scamming and all this. Okay, but this is Alex, the sheriff of Los Angeles County, Villanueva, just announced he's running again. We have Gabriel Mann, who right now, one of my favorite documentaries I've ever watched, the director, cinematographer, artist of Hotshot. Is it hotshotthemovie.com?
Hotshotmovie.com.
Hotshotmovie.com. Make sure you watch that. How I Met Gabriel, we'll get into it. This is like a quick cold opening. He was the only person online that I saw defending with a brain why the Palisades didn't need to burn down. Because everybody in the comment section will talk about, oh, the winds. Oh, you don't need water. Oh, you don't need brush clearance. It's just supposed to burn because we live in California. That's our choice. You wanted to live in California, your house would burn down. And then Gabriel, with so much knowledge, started helping me guide the actual truth. So we'll get into that later in the pod. But the sheriff was in town checking out what happened to the Palisades, and I heard he was in town. I said, please stop by. So we are going to have a longer episode the next few weeks to really get into Los Angeles and public safety and the future. But really why it's such a treat to have him here today is he brought to everybody's attention when he was the sheriff of Los Angeles, the conspiracy. People love the word conspiracy, but it's not. It's the truth about what these nonprofits do with the money that people donate, thinking they're doing something good. And why I bring that up is we'll get into fire aid and Governor Newsom, but Alex found this going on with the unhoused industrial complex, or if you're a wildfire, Hotshot, the Wizard industrial complex, and he brought that to attention. So the parallels are here today, perfect to discuss fire aid, which here we go. And usually we're going to have 3 microphones, but I think squatters in the Palisades may have allegedly taken 2 of the mics. So next episode, I won't hold the iPhone. Hello, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Oh my gosh,
Thank you.
what a treat. Sheriff, please tell our audience, listeners, viewers, about what you dealt with the unhoused industrial complex and seeing how this money that just goes into these things and they build the $11 million units and take it away.
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm not going to ask you how you're doing because I'm standing in the rubble of your home. I think that's self-explanatory. I can tell you this, what you rely on normally, what people think of, oh my God, we have all these public entities that are going to come out and ride to our rescue when in times of need. No, that's not the case. You look at how much money between 2011 and 2021, the county of LA spent $6.5 billion of your tax dollars, which includes part of your property taxes that you paid right here, $6.5 billion to address the homeless in LA County. And the population of the homeless doubled in size in 10 years.
Well, speaking on that, just yesterday, because obviously I'm a plaintiff suing LA County, LA DWP, and the state parks, Gavin Newsom. And somebody was like, it's so sad. Even if you win, you're going to be taking tax money. And I wrote back to them, oh, you won't notice because $30 billion to unhouse, they actually didn't track that. So you're not concerned about that $30 billion. So maybe all the people that they let their houses burn down, that actually paid taxes, and that is our money I put into the state and LA County. I'll just get that back. So don't worry about that because that was an issue. But exactly.
No, that's exactly how it's working. And you look at the money that's flowing to all these nonprofits, they do not track how they spend the money. They don't show the receipts of how the money was spent. The results of it, we know it. The problem gets worse. And what is the reaction from the County Board of Supervisors? Let's do it again. In fact, you know what? Yeah, the LA Homeless Service Authority, it wasn't quite working. So we'll pull our money out and we'll create a new bureaucracy to do the exact same things. And who do we put in charge of the new bureaucracy? The same people in charge of the homeless industrial complex. Woohoo! I mean, that mentality, you got to wonder, oh my God, no one of these people in the public sector and not in the private sector. We got to either deliver results or you're gone.
Yeah, and then here's we'll get to fire aid. So for our listeners or viewers who don't know what fire aid is, I think it was January 20th. I just looked because I made a TikTok because I was so upset. My wife had a #1 song in the world with Pitbull, and they didn't ask Heidi to perform at this fundraiser that all the stars were performing for the victims of the Palisades and Altadena fire. And I was like, why wouldn't they use Heidi? I know why. Because they knew they weren't giving the money to the fire victims. And I would have been there backstage and I would have said, where's the first check? Can I leave with it tonight? And they would have been like, oh, no. It's going to Gavin Newsom's Cal Volunteers and his wife, who's an honorary board member. And it's also going to 150 different charities. Most of them aren't even in LA. And then when the LA Times, which I've now learned in the last week of being attacked, which is really just Newsom's propaganda PR establishment from my experience this week, they ran this deep dive and they talked to we called 150 people and it all went to charities. You're missing the point, LA Times. It's not going to the Pacific Palisades fire victims. And then they're like, oh, this person gave $500 cards to vendors and landscape. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I was out here, according to the LA Fire Department, clearing my brush or I was going to get fined. Technically, it was a landscaper with Luke, and I didn't get a $500 thing. So that's what I've learned about these nonprofits. And then you deep dive it even deeper. They're all getting salaries of $700,000 a year, $150,000 a year. So first off, even if they were going to give some money to the fire victims, a big chunk is coming out to these people. Why didn't we just skip this little scam con and have it? If we needed a nonprofit, we should have had Palisades Community Center nonprofit created, and the money goes actually into the community, and then the town can have their own meetings and they can figure out how to disperse the fund to the actual victims. But here's the best part about all this. Newsom and his press office is now saying, oh, we have nothing to do with the nonprofit. Nobody said you did, but you took the money and then you deleted it off your website. So don't worry. Thankfully, the congressman is asking for an investigation with the attorney general. So Kevin Kiley, shout out Kevin Kiley. Hope to have you on the pod once you get all the scoop.
Very true. We found out in the top 10 nonprofits in LA dealing with the homeless, the CEOs were making on average $800,000. If we went to the top 25, it only reduced to $625,000 a year for the CEO. I mean, these nonprofits are a name only, and it's just staggering the amount of money that goes to them. But you look at what actually the output or the outcome of what they produce, it's like a little trickle. And that, we just got to stop that. We need to actually hold people accountable because resources are scarce. They're hard to come by. And we should make sure we get the most, the biggest bang for the buck of what we're getting. And we're not getting that. Taxpayers are being defrauded.
And that's the best part about this whole, like people always used to say, the military industrial complex, you got to have war so you keep making the bombs. What people don't connect is the homeless industrial complex. They don't want people to not be homeless because then they don't get $800,000 a year. And then, ready for this? There's the wildfire industrial complex in California. They don't actually want the fires to stop because after you watch Gabriel's film, you'll see that's how many billions a year just in California? 1.5.
No, they just upped it with what happened in January 7th. So it used to be a $12 billion a year industry in California.
Prime example, and on the homeless side, Venice. The Venice boardwalk was being destroyed by the homeless. We come in and we basically shamed the city into cleaning the whole thing up, and we got the citizens were excited, the business owners were excited, the tourists came back. It all came back to life. And what was the reaction from the political establishment? How dare he? I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
And the sheriff, you had barbers coming down and giving people haircuts to try
Free
to
haircuts.
set them up for success.
Yes.
And
Joe the barber, they did a wonderful job. And when we first went there, about 50% of the stores were closed. There was hardly anybody on the boardwalk. And the few that were on there, they were going by at 20 miles an hour on a bike and looking scared. And you had people with different stages of mental illnesses screaming and throwing things at each other. And that was it. That was the boardwalk. And everything, 200 plus tents lining. You could not even see the ocean from the boardwalk. And you're right there. And now it all changed when we cleaned it up. It came back to life. You saw people using the boardwalk, which meant dollars are coming in to the coffers of the city of LA. And you'd think that's a good thing. But in their eyes, no. They were only worried about, oh, well, he's there with a cowboy hat and, he doesn't know his jurisdiction. I mean, I just don't know what these people are thinking, really.
Well, they're making all this money, so that's what they're thinking. They don't want it to change. I mean, if you're making $800,000 a year, you don't want change. You want it to be worse to make $1 million a year. So once people really, and I thank God for this fire aid thing, is I think it's blowing the lid off it, because when you see these nonprofits are all taking the money and doing it whatever they want with this money and it didn't go to victims, I think this could be a tipping point. I'm going to keep pushing for that. This is a breaking news. This is a viral moment. Can't give you my sources. It's going to come out very big, but I'm going to tease it. I can't even say the source, but it's factual that the morning of the Pacific Palisades Fire, President Biden was flying in and there was a complete air grounding, and the helicopters that were putting water on the fire had to stop. And once they did take it away, it didn't immediately get the helicopters back because allegedly the new Sheriff Luna had never dealt with a major fire and never been a head of a command center, and the mayor was in Africa. So there was this disconnect between the people in power. And so once the actual flight restrictions were lifted, they still didn't get the helicopters back on target. And that's the first line of attack, which you'll learn when you do your research. That's our only chance, is getting that water on the fire. And this little mishap, and from my sources, it looks like it was an hour the Luna didn't respond. We'll get exact facts coming soon in the case. But from your experience actually leading command centers, how important are these? I mean, it's an obvious question. These are seconds we need to be making these decisions, not an hour.
Definitely, every second counts, because every second, just like when you have a patient and paramedics, every second means more blood going out, and you lose your patient. And same thing with wildfires, with civil unrest, any matter. The more you delay the response, the worse the problem is going to get. And this one got a tipping point where it exceeded the capacity of everybody to deal with it, but you had a narrow window of opportunity at the very onset. Can it be addressed?
And that is exactly what we will keep deep diving into this investigation. So stay tuned. I'm going to get timestamps. I'm getting the FAA calls. It's all coming out. So just stay tuned. That's not just, we're calling it allegations right now, but I got the facts. Well, while we still have the sheriff here, is there any things you just want to knock out connecting to the Palisades Fire from your observations, the response, what led up to it? Just
my biggest concern, and this is the same as the Palisades as it was for the Eaton Canyon fire, is that the lack of an evacuation plan. Because, all right, say the fire is too big for the human capacity to put it out because of the wind conditions, the fuel, and all that stuff. Right. However, losing life is inexcusable, because there has to be an evacuation plan. There has to be implementation. You have to have people on the ground, getting people out of harm's way, with obviously the people that are homebound, the people with, animals and all these things. Get them going first at the first hint of, okay, this could go sideways. There was no semblance of an evacuation plan. And in Eaton in particular, people had to self-evacuate on their own and figure it out. And you know what? 19 people didn't figure it out. And that all falls on law enforcement leadership, fire leadership.
Well, if you look at how lucky the Palisades was, on the Palisades Drive, where I know so many friends and family members that had to abandon their cars, they didn't know what to do. So they're also leaving their keys in the car because there's nobody from law enforcement or emergency personnel telling them, leave your keys in the car. They're just all dropping their bags, running with their kids, because flames are on both sides of the street. So the Palisades is actually so lucky it was not a tragic loss of life. Obviously, over, I think, 33 people did die that day, but it could have been hundreds and kids. And so we got lucky. And also, it was at 10:30 in the morning. If this had happened in the middle of the night, it's truly beyond, you can't even fathom what would have happened. So, well, we're going to bring Heidi on. It's great to see you. We'll see you in a few weeks, and we'll talk about your campaign and all of LA. Where can they get you right now? I know your Instagram,
Instagram, Facebook, Sheriff Villanueva 33. You can get me there. For the campaign, AlexVillanueva2026.com.
All right, Sheriff. Well, it's beyond a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Ours.
Oh, wait, one last thing. When we actually knew our house was probably going to burn down, I can think of one person they actually called to ask if we needed help evacuating a place to stay. And it was the sheriff and his
Please tell me
wife.
you didn't get
So,
plastic surgery
there
to
you go.
help you out. Oh no, that's all God's.
Okay, my favorite internet defender that I've only known on social media now for, it feels like 20 years, but it's been a week and a half. Shout out Keegan Gibbs, who's the head of the Malibu Community Brigade that probably get on a podcast as well. But he sent me Gabriel's live Twitter stream when he was breaking down our lawsuit against California State Parks, the county, LADWP, and just showing how insane what really happened in the Palisades. And his background, he's a filmmaker, made an incredible movie, Hotshot. You can get it on
Amazon, Apple, hotshotmovie.com, whatever you
10 out of 10. You will never look at fires the same. Like it should be everyone's homework, just period, to just know what's going on. And let's just start as a thank you for defending me and against LA Times. You've defended me against Gavin Newsom. And again, this is a stranger. I just met him, but he felt compelled to do hard-hitting live streams where he brings out all the facts, and you can go check out his Twitter later, and they're all archived, and you can watch what I'm talking about. But okay, what's up?
brother. Well, look, I don't want to burst your bubble. I'm not here to defend you. Honestly, like I'm just here to stand up for reality. This is kind of what motivated me to make my film. And especially, I spent 6 years on the fire line filming this thing, and I spent 10 years in total on this production. So you can imagine I learned a lot being surrounded by these firefighters. The gulf that there is between the reality that the firefighters experience, what's actually happening with these fires, and what's communicated in these rags like the LA Times that used to be a respectable newspaper, but now it's just a supplicant media arm for the governor at this point. That divide between reality and what's conveyed to the general public, it's almost criminal, because I think you don't necessarily need to be a fire expert to understand that something went wrong here. I think everybody could smell it. Even if you know nothing about wildfire, I think everybody in the Palisades could smell something was wrong with this fire. This didn't go down the way that it should have. And you may not be able to identify it, but in the same way, like, you don't need to be a chef to know what a bad souffle tastes like. You may not be able to make it yourself, but you know that something's wrong. And I felt this need to chime in and talk about all the things that did go wrong, because there's so many conspiracy theories that, talk about, they're trying to cover up like evidence of crimes or space lasers. That's always a big thing. The reality is government loves these conspiracy theories because it distracts you from ever realizing that the biggest threat to your life is just bureaucratic incompetence. And I know that's boring, it's not sexy, but as we've seen, as we've learned more about what happened with this fire, you've got not one empty reservoir, you have two empty reservoirs. You have aircraft being shut down, not because of the wind, they were still operating. They were shut down because of a flight restriction. The power wasn't shut off. So that's two strikes against LADWP, which runs the water system here, and they also run the power lines. There wasn't just one ignition. Like, we've all been focused on what started the Palisades fire. There were multiple ignitions. And those homes up in the highlands, they were out of danger in the initial push of this fire. But then a bunch of homes burned down later that night. How does that happen?
Well, shout out Mike GTV at Palisades Legend. His house didn't burn down in the highlands till the next day.
Unacceptable.
The next day, like...
That's because there were secondary ignitions, because they didn't shut down the power. And look, there's two problems with not shutting off the power, which you always do on a wildfire, because operators cannot work under energized power lines. It's too dangerous, because they might come crashing down on their heads and kill them. And so fire line work had to be halted up in the highlands because the power lines were still energized. And so what does that mean? Well, now the fire is going to slip out the back door. So the first thing that they always do when there's a wildfire is they go straight to the heel of the fire, and they try to at least button up that side, right? Because that's where the lowest level of fire activity is. The wind's pushing it towards the ocean. That's the worst fire activity. You can't get anywhere near that. You're not going to stop it, right? But on the heel, you can put that out pretty easily, cut some line, and at least we know, okay, this back door is closed. We can look just in one direction. We don't have to look at 360 degrees. They had to shut down work on that fire line on the heel. And then they had another ignition because the power lines were still throwing hot slag everywhere. So this is like unacceptable, especially in 2025. Like, this is fire country. I always refer to this whole area, Malibu Canyon, as Fire Alley. Like, I grew up just across the way in Agora Hills at Malibu Lake. And I remember in 1993, we had basically the exact same fire as the Woolsey fire 25 years later. These patterns keep repeating themselves. And because there's not this good information coming through the mainstream press, people who live here in fire country have no idea what to expect, and they get blindsided every time. So I look at this, and then I see, the LA Times attacking you when you're in the right. And then I see the governor inexplicably coming after someone who's not just a victim of like one of the worst fires that we've ever seen, but my God, dude, you're suing him. Like, why, how is his counsel not like busting down the door of whatever blue-haired intern is running that social media account and saying, you need to stop? It is absolutely inexplicable and shameless behavior. I cannot fathom how a governor would think that it's okay to be attacking fire victims. You guys are entitled to be upset. And as we've found out, the more we learn about what happened with this fire, it's like, this isn't just upset because you lost your home. They're upset because this never should have happened. And we're gonna find this out.
That's what's so exciting. And I just like every day I'm like counting days, because once everyone actually sees like the evidence that's in the case that you don't show until the end, you know, once you just get ready.
Yeah.
So knowing what I know, I'm like, you guys are in big trouble.
Yeah.
And then like for somebody to come after me is one thing, but the wildest is they try to then blame me for stopping this bill that was going to help my community. And they tried to not only shame, they said how shameful, I forget the misquote, but the governor's office is like, this was going to help your community and now it's not. First off, this bill is only paused. So that's also just gaslighting is the term I now like to use. It's like,
But still, think of how disgusting that is. That they're not just attacking you, right? They're trying to sow discontent amongst the entire plaintiff class. They want your entire neighborhood and your fellow victims here to be mad at you. So that way they come here with the pitchforks and say, oh, Spencer, you ruined this for us. They were gonna rebuild our homes for free and you ruined it. It's a complete lie. And it's shameful.
and here's what they don't get, which is so funny. I'm in every single victim WhatsApp. Every single street has like a captain. The amount of texts and messages I get from locals, victims, asking me, telling me, please bring attention to this. Please, it's like, I'm not just like, oh, let me go do this. I feel obligated as the only one with a platform in this town that wants to speak on behalf of the community. So that's the other thing. They think like, oh, this is just some C-list reality star. Make them like, I got 10, I was gonna say 10. There's like 70 lawyers. It's called the Pally Legal Chat, shout out. These are all partners at law firms whose houses burned down.
Yeah.
And they don't have one, like, they're not this type of politics or that type of, it's victims. That's what people are like, this is victims that want the answers.
Mm-hmm. This is a unifying event.
Exactly.
You're Spencer the dispenser, the dispenser of truth. And this is really key. One thing that I've observed that's really tragic about fires in California, they follow the same pattern over and over. There is a very brief window where you guys have the social and political capital to make a change so that this stuff doesn't happen again. That first 2 weeks where everybody is so stunned by the destruction, that's kind of your only window, because immediately after that, all the attention, all the empathy falls off precipitously. And then you're just going to fall through the cracks. The same thing happened with Paradise, California. Like my old hometown in Malibu Lake, there's still homes there that haven't been rebuilt 7 years later. So it's really easy for this stuff to just disappear. So it's important that you raise a fuss. And it's good that you have the mental fortitude to take the slings and arrows, because as you can see, the sheriff will attest to this as well. They're dirty. They will resort to the dirtiest tricks just to attack you, just because they might assume that you are aligned against them politically. I have no idea what your politics are. And the thing is, like, the Palisades is a very mixed community, very mixed community. At the end of the day, we had a tragedy, and it's going to be a unifying event. I just hope that people don't fall prey to the tricks by the media, because it's really bad. Like, we talked about the conspiracy theory angle and how that's always distracting from the truth. But like, what's really disturbing is what they're planning to do with the Palisades afterwards. When I was riding up here, my driver was saying it was the first time he had seen the Palisades at the fire, and he's from South Central, and he came in and he was like, I knew it. I knew they did this on purpose. Because he saw all the construction that's starting, and he's like, they did this on purpose. They're going to build all these high rises. He's not like plugged into any of this stuff, but just instinctively, like I said, people can smell when something's off, and something's definitely off. And the question becomes, why is everybody in Sacramento trying to do so much? why not just rebuild what we had here? Why are they trying to add stuff to it? Like, and the thing is, you can see the vultures circling. You could see them right away, right? They're circling to pick the carcass clean of the Palisades, because when you look at this real estate, the views that you guys have, you imagine how long developers have been lusting after this land, and all they needed was somebody to shake the Etch-a-Sketch, and now they have this foothold where they can come in and slam in high density housing. The thing that people don't understand is existing legislation in California from 2008 mandates that they build homeless housing in the Palisades. It's mandatory, and it's hidden in a transportation bill. What does this have to do with transportation? Well, you have to understand that they see high density housing as the fulcrum point for solving greenhouse gas pollution. Because, well, if everybody's living in the same place, they don't need to drive everywhere. And so that's their plan. I can't fathom anyone, except like maybe a California politician, who would look at that cluster F of an evacuation where you had everybody slammed on Palisades Drive, had to abandon their cars. We had to get an LA County dozer to clear out these vehicles. Who would look at that and think, hey, you know what would make this better? 50,000 more people? Like, what we should be doing is we should be banning more density in a fire zone. The idea that you would add more people to this is it's a recipe for disaster. And like you said, we're so lucky that this didn't happen in the middle of the night, right? At least people were awake and they were ready to boogie. Maybe a lot of people were at work. So yeah, they lost their home. Maybe they lost a bunch of possessions and stuff that they could have taken with them if they were here, but they got out with their lives.
Just yesterday, I got so many messages. The new thing that now everyone's asking me to try to fight and bring transparency is a developer just right here in the Alphabet Streets bought up all these lots and already applied to put duplexes on them. So already, forget even the the big scale Sacramento develop, smaller scale. I mean, I guess they're not small scale if they're buying up lots, but they're already buying up lots to try to split them up and add double. There already wasn't any parking on these streets. Like, when the sheriff was here, he's like, where did you guys park? It's like, we all had to park on the streets. You had to go through because, it was already too many people here. And now we're going to have duplexes and high rises or whatever. So when people keep asking me, oh, do you want to rebuild here? I'm like, God willing, only if I can do everything in my power to get the Palisades back to closest as it was, or I want nothing to do with it. So it's this emotional, because Heidi's like, why would you want to come back? And I was like, because I grew up here. This is where they win if I let them take this magical place and turn it into this experiment.
It's your birthright.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So, half my family lived here in the Palisades. The thing is, I come from a middle-class family. Like, we think of the Palisades now, it's a very wealthy community. Sure. The median house, I think, is like $3-something million. It wasn't always like that. So, people like my grandmother, my aunt, my cousins, they bought in like 30, 40, 50 years ago, back when it was cheap, frankly. And they can't afford to rebuild in modern prices. A lot of them are retired. They're only making a few $1,000s of Social Security every month. They're never going to be able to come back, ever. And so you have a lot of generational homeowners in the Palisades. They're going to have to move out to Lancaster because over the course of those 40 years, all the prices just ran away from them. And, they're not property owners, right? They were leasing, they were renting. And so they don't have any equity. They don't have any claim. They just lost everything, and they'll never be able to come back. And this idea of embedding high density housing, this isn't like a conspiracy theory. Like I said, this is mandated by law. And so you guys really need to be on guard, because they are going to try to funnel this in some way, because they say, okay, we tabled this bill that you brought attention to. That already is really suspect. If all it's meant to do is help you guys, why would you table it?
Yeah, they would have said, no, Spencer's a liar.
Yeah,
this
Spencer,
is going through.
Read
this
it.
is the best bit. Yeah.
Read it. Like, you would show everybody, hey, here's how it's going to help. Oh, if you guys are hung up on this one little clause that talks about homeless housing, we'll get rid of that. Okay, we'll get rid of that. We'll figure that out later. But why would you table the whole thing? Well, clearly it's because the gig is up, right? They got caught. And the way they were trying to sneak this in, they weren't referencing this mandatory housing element directly in the bill. They were hiding it by referencing previous legislation. So you got to understand that This infrastructure has been built up over years and years to do exactly this. And, you know, the owner of the Shell gas station over on Sunset, that gas station burned down. He's already said that he wants to put 100-unit housing in the footprint of a gas station. That's going to be a high rise.
Here's what's so ironic about that. He was fighting that area. He just wanted to tear it down and do a second story, mini mart on top of it. And the town fought that. So that's how far we've already jumped in the matrix. The town didn't want him to add another floor to the gas station. And now he's going after that. So before, you catch your flight, you flew in for this, a real one. So Heidi and I just, on the way here, we went to the other side of Topanga State Park. So for people that don't know, there's supposed to be this big investigation that I realized Gavin Newsom on January 10th said he was investigating. Who knows where that is? But there's allegedly what our lawsuit's going to show is there was this reignition of a New Year's Eve fire, and that's in Topanga State Park. So we drove to the other side of Topanga State Park today to look at what that looks like. And it looks like, as you'll watch his film, lots of fuel. 40 years of fuel, meaning dry brush, no maintenance, no clearing. And then people will argue, there's nothing you can do. What do you say to those people that, say you can't maintain this brush?
They are dead wrong. We have a scene in our movie Hotshot where we showed a fire that was very similar to the Palisades Fire back in 2020, the Silverado Fire. And it ran with 85-mile-per-hour winds straight towards Orchard Hills. But they had cleared out a 300-foot green belt around their community. And so as soon as the fire hit that green belt, we're talking like, succulents, things that don't burn, the firefighters didn't even have to pull out their hoses because the fire just stopped dead in its tracks. And look, it threw some spots into a few palm trees, because palm trees are fire magnets, by the way. Like, nobody should have palm trees in their yard. But they were able to knock that down really quickly. The thing is, if you were to clear out 300 feet of all this brush in these hills around here, you would have a fighting chance. Because
I was going to say, this, if you can't see on camera, but there's a house behind this tree. And I always was so like, God, they're so smart. They obviously did their own back of the hill, and they cleared it always up. And it was just this big chunk behind their backyard that I bet they shouldn't even have legally done, because I'm sure that wasn't their property. And you can't just cut there's these weird.
There's a very complex regulatory process for people to step into state property. But look, this is Topanga State Park. This is state property that's totally overgrown, totally mismanaged. It is in desperate need of fire, which this area is fire dependent. So it has to burn. You can see that there's already regrowth, right? And it's nice and green, actually. That's what it looks like after a fire. What you saw on the edge over near Topanga is a rat's nest, and that is going to go. And I keep warning everybody in Topanga that they're next, and they need to push on the governor, who is in charge of Topanga State Park, that they need to clear out some of those fuels. They need to cut a barrier. They need to do some prescribed fire. They didn't do it, and the Palisades got wrecked because of it. We drew out a sample burn plan that the Palisades could have done, or at least, the state authorities could have done around the Palisades. It would have only been 750 acres. That's it. It's really small. That would cost the state $500,000 to do that firing operation. And the thing is, the ignition of the fire would have been within that boundary. So this fire never would have happened. But let's just pretend, it started deeper in. It would have stopped. I'd put everything I have on it because I've seen it too many times. When you do prescribed fire, it works. It actually reduces the risk of devastating wildfires by 90%. 90%.
One of the great things about your film is you go back to the Native Americans who they created fire. They're the first firefighters. They created these prescribed fires, and they were experts in it. And what did we do? I learned from your film, right? When we took over all these parks, we did the opposite of what the Native Americans had done, of years of living in a fire, as people will say in the comment section, you deserve it because you live in a fire. Like, no.
Yeah, dude, my barefoot ancestors were able to live here for 12,000 years without a problem. They didn't have helicopters. They didn't have bulldozers. They understood this natural process, and they did it proactively. So they would burn out, like, for example, the Carrick Indians in Yosemite Valley, they would burn out their Yosemite Valley every single year, ritualistically. And it did a lot of things. Of course, it protected them from wildfire, but it cleared out all this brush. They were able to see predators more easily. They were able to hunt because you can shoot an arrow straight through the forest now. And then you get a bunch of wildflowers that grow in that burn scar. And so that attracts pollinators and more growth and more robust growth. And that's pasture land that's going to draw in, grazing animals that you can hunt and have for food. So there were a lot of benefits, and they did this for 12,000 years. Every single forester in the country, every fire chief in the country understands this. And in Florida, they burn 2 million acres a year proactively. That's more than California has done with prescribed fire in the last 50 years. And every time that Gavin Newsom touts how much prescribed fire they've done, notice the trick that they do. If you ever ask, like, hey, how much prescribed fire have you done? They'll say, we've treated 700,000 acres. They'll never say we burned 700,000 acres, because when they say treated, they're lumping in a whole bunch of other things that aren't prescribed fire. So that way they can hide the embarrassing amount of prescribed fire that they're actually doing, which is closer to 36,000 acres. The thing you have to understand with the fire regime that we have here in California, you need 4 to 11 million acres of prescribed fire every year. 4 to 11 million acres. They're only doing 36,000 a year. It's leaving everybody vulnerable.
So what could people do to protect their own homes? If they're not going to be protected, what is something proactive? What is something we possibly could have done to protect our own home?
The weakest points in your home are going to be the gutters. If there's leaf litter in your gutters, or if there's leaf litter collecting in some of the angles on your roof, that's going to be the most vulnerable, where you're getting fire directly against the roof. Also, vegetation right up against your home is going to be very problematic. Obviously, if you have agave, those aren't going to catch on fire. There's, certain kinds of bamboo, they're not going to catch on fire. The other thing is vents. So gabled vents, the eaves, anywhere where embers can find their way through. Now, you'll notice that when you drive through the Palisades, there are a lot of areas where you see 5 burned out homes and then 1 home that's just totally fine. There's a lot of randomness to the way that these fires unfold, right? I think everybody envisions a wildfire coming through a community like a tsunami, like it's just bulldozing everything. It's not how it happens. It's really spotty and random, because it sort of depends on those embers finally finding their way into your home in some Rube Goldberg kind of way. This speaks to why the water factor was such a huge factor on this fire. Because, look, when you have a giant fire front, like we've seen in some portions of the fire, yeah, water's not going to do anything for that. But if you have a couple of embers that just caught your gutter on fire, water's absolutely going to stop that. If it's unchecked, 15, 20 minutes later, yeah, that little fire in your gutter is going to spread to the rest of the house, and it's over. That's why the water element was so critical, especially with that reservoir being empty. The most important asset on your fire, especially at the beginning, is that aircraft. And they had to fly 3 times farther to refill with water. So that reduced the amount of time that they were actually fighting fire. They might have had a chance with this thing. Once it gets to a certain threshold, there's kind of nothing you can do. But as we rebuild the Palisades, if people are using, non-combustible materials, like we're not going to have wood shingle roofs, your next door neighbor, it's got basically a concrete bunker. That's a model for how you do it. Now we got to find a way to make it look prettier.
He's the architect. He's not watching
I like
this.
the exact house.
I like traditional architecture. And the thing is, there is a way that you can do it. We should have Spanish tile. We're in California. We should have Spanish tile roofs. But honestly, if you live next to Gavin Newsom's property and they've done no prescribed fire and he's set you up for a devastating wildfire, if you could just do a few things, remove the stuff that's flammable from the side of your house, clean your gutters, and close up any vents. If you have a gable vent, that is the easiest way for embers to get inside. What I did when I was living in Santa Clarita was I just put a plastic cover over it. That's it. And there's no chance of embers getting through. We had the tick fire push through my neighborhood with like 45, 50 mile per hour winds. Nothing happened. So we can live here. Anybody telling you that you just can't do this? Like I said, my barefoot ancestors lived here for 12,000 years. They figured out how to do it. I think we can figure out how to do it.
Would you also live here without insurance? So
I
that's a whole nother level.
I don't even know if this is going to be insurable anymore. But I think the insurers have a responsibility to have a more cooperative approach with the homeowners. And I think if the homeowners take personal accountability on their property and they do all the things to try to fire harden their homes, there should be a little bit more wiggle room. Now, if someone is being totally neglectful, they're not clearing any of their vegetation, they're not cleaning their gutters, they don't have any protective measures, then okay, that's a different story. We have to take personal responsibility for these things because you never know when your utility company is going to drain your reservoir and leave you without water, right? Or not shut off the power, or they're going to ground aircraft because of a TFR for some reason. So you have to be ready for this on your own because they ain't going to save you. They might by chance, but you can't count on that. The other thing we should consider is just having sprinklers on people's roofs. Honestly, like if you just wet stuff down, when that ember lands in the gutter, what's it going to do? It's just going to go. And that's
Just
it.
got to make sure water comes out of the sprinklers, though.
All right.
Well, you got to catch your flight. Anybody who's watching this, his film is phenomenal. Like one of the best movies you can watch. So definitely watch it on Amazon,
Apple,
everywhere.
hotshotmovie.com if you don't want to give Jeff Bezos his pound of flesh.
Or do it because we love Prime and Amazon.
We love Amazon.
Amazon sponsors this podcast next week. All right. Well, that's it. We'll maybe see you next week, but make sure you like, subscribe, share.
Kind comments.
Oh, kind comments are beautiful.
Always want.
Even if you don't watch it, just you can write something nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to the theme game.